Nice, yeah.
Two songs round bongos.
For us, when we think about working in Washington, you know, Washington's part of the city of Sunderland, but I think for a lot of people it feels isolated. So when it was first suggested, pre-pandemic, if we go out to community groups and basically get them to write something about where they have to go, where they are in Washington, that'll be interesting and a great thing to do with Paul, and we can make it into music.
Yeah. The idea of locality and lived experience were quite high on the agenda.
Well, I've always been a musician. I've never really written poetry, and it was the poems of the town part that enticed me. And Paul, one of the leaders there, he's a poet. So working with him and like writing with him was really interesting because I'd never looked so intensely into the lyrical side of things before.
I like the idea of getting people to look at the mundane and see them in a slightly extraordinary and non-mundane way. And we were very systematic, just essentially gave them a little toolbox saying, look, this is how we build some images around there. If we're looking at people, delve, interrogate further, just encouraging people to get away from the obvious, and that takes us to some nice abstract places, you know what I mean? And that was lovely. This very particular time, you know, like during the pandemic, we might have been locked into very local physical spaces, but our brains were going all over the place, and that came out quite early. So again, that was lovely. So not only could we apply that sort of template of descriptive writing to the places in and around us, but we could also project them onto the fantastic as well, and that worked beautifully for the narrative. So it meant that we got stuff that was very dirty and real, but also quite fantastic and beautiful as well.
I've never really sat down and like tried to do something properly like I did with this. It felt easier to get the ideas.
Well, the Roman wall stuff started off from an exercise when we were just imagining driving along with a camera. I said collect images and then imagine that you're making films, and like we didn't even mention the fact that we were going to be doing like writing any poems or songs. It was all just about the act of being a curator.
I went for a ride up past the Roman wall in the car. So I just started like writing some random things on my phone, and then like sort of like more of a poem, and then modified it to fit the music. There was a fire in like a couple of buildings that were like derelict and that, and then I was like, well, that's a change, so I should include it.
Lonely road, starved of interaction. Darkness runs in every direction. Fire burns as the wheels turn. The fire burns. The fire burns. Lifeless buildings, forever revived, as music echoes on this drive. The outline of the old wall can be seen as the stars shine above like a dream. Down dips and through turns, the fire burns, still the fire burns. I stand and gaze at this temple of antiquity. My mind wonders at the endless possibility. the constellations, they ride the night as Orion falls off the end of the sky. The stars burn as the sky turns. The stars burn. The stars burn. The darkness increases and hinders my sight. Still the wall stands. Still the wall stands, starved of interaction. Darkness runs in every direction. The fire burns as the wheels turn. The fire burns. The fire burns. Still the fire burns. Still the fire burns. Still the fire burns. Still the fire burns.
The whole situation of COVID has like inspired lyrics, so I've been writing a lot of songs. I mean, one of the songs we've done today is Old Fashioned State of Mind, and it's wanting to like get out there, get out of quarantine, and wanting to get back out into the world and like experience things. Like even the name of the song, I think in a way it's like old fashioned is like just pre-COVID at this point, because it feels like COVID's been going on for like so long.
It's just a pretty song and really like true to what it seems like Jen is like as a person. Combining these bits of imagery, this stuff about sand and the smell of sun cream and things like that. But what she wants to do is make like an emotional call about what that all means for her, especially now.
The lyrics have been quite formulated as a homework exercise, and then it was just a case of how can we marry this collection of words with some of the existing melodies that we've been collecting.
I think that's my favourite riff that I've done, but yeah, I sent that in, and then Jen keeps making really good lyrics.
Super catchy riff and a super catchy chorus, which we are all going to go away
Yeah,
today
we need
still
to learn a thing or two
singing
from
it.
these guys. Jeez.
Feelings of familiarity in places far away. Candid shots captured by a Polaroid camera. Old-fashioned state of mind.
we'd been writing a lot about the local area, but also been veering off a bit into like other ideas and other places, but I wanted to kind of bring it back in and really hone in on the Sunderland aspect and like the local culture and local life. So that's where a lot of the words came from.
I didn't even know whether she was ever going to get around to making it a song, because she told us earlier, and I was like, maybe I've got a musical idea for it, and then just stopped talking about it until we eventually got back into the art centre. It's like, Eve, we have to do something with this one.
And then the High Street Blues part, that line wasn't actually added until like 3 weeks ago, because Dave said he just thought there was something missing in it. And then he thought, well, it's all about Sunderland, local things, why not the High Street, call it High Street Blues. The dynamic of Dave and Peter was like really welcoming. Just the fact that they're so experienced, if you ever didn't know what to do musically or anything, they would just be able to give you advice straight away, and you can just really focus in and be like, okay, yeah, this is cool, this works. Having them there has been like a positive influence.
Smiles painted on low effort vandalism. We sing along to the same scratchy records. Side on flash shards by the bus stop pages, bathrooms. We'll drink till the day they fix the old blues. High Street Blues. Lazy day strolls along bleak and beaches. Kicking aside the same crumbling rocks. I wish for the time that the skies turn blue again. We'll dance along the shore to familiar tunes. High Street Blues. Buildings of glass so secretly transparent, beating the echoes of mediocre men. Watch as they fall and laugh oh so quietly. The birds peek through the blanks and shout at the rain. Cry at the top of your smoke-stained lungs. Stomp until your bones shatter in two. Scream at the clouds until somebody listens. And maybe one day they'll break out of this ruse. High Street Blues. The same street still winding, unwinding. And after a while it all fades into one. At times it feels as though the light is dying, but I won't forget you or our song. High Street Blues. High Street Blues. High Street Blues. High Street Blues.
The one I wrote, it's like spoken instead of sung, and it's not really a chorus, but it still kind of works. And like the drums are more at the front of that song than just keeping the time or whatever.
I think I wanted to instill in him that you can be a drummer and a songwriter at the same time. I said, look, just record a drum beat that you like, just make it into a riff.
So we just sat down in the little studio room and we literally just went through. If we were driving through where you live, we were just bombarded with images. And we said, right, well, do you know what, we'll not fiddle with that much, we'll just leave it how it is. And just split it up into nice little sets of six non-rhyming couplets that are just gonna illustrate this place.
But we had to get Paul to kind of sing it. We thought, nah, Paul should do this one. So we kind of, I didn't twist anyone else's arm to sing this one. I was like, nah, Paul, you should do one.
Curtains twitch, jaws flap. A cold storm spits out a squall. Drizzle kisses on Prospect Terrace. Diesel prisms, lockdown prisons. 7 stars for the angel of the north. vape trails and broken dreams, history rusting on roundabout islands, candy floss and asthma, Union flags and Albany driveways, new order and bargain buys. Matalan sweatpants and indecisive skies, steaming tarmac and drowning masks, lipstick traces, tab end tide lines, plastic flowers and unpaid bills, petrol turned earth, the reek of disappointment. Fat seagulls, whining quads, the slap of the reel, the pull of home, second-hand identities and worn-out nostalgia, old Johnny One Lung smelling a pastry, following a trail of dog shit footprints, the grey-skinned dead looking down from heaven. Scuffed high-vis and manic dogs, bouncy castles, souped-up cars, coded faces, empty spaces, Downey's chips and snidey tabs, new monkey, whispered son, a couple arguing under a cloud. Derelict shops and anxious smiles, faces, spaces, jazz hand hazards, wet blossom, blocking gutters, stun kids and frayed nerves, curtains twitch, jaws flap, 100 accidents are waiting to happen. Memory is now, knowledge is how we fall in love. Memory is now, knowledge is how we fall in love.
Often when you're young and creative, it's easy to sort of back yourself into your own individual corner. And I think what was really beautiful about when we all got together was how generous they were with each other. So like we thought that we'd be developing individual songs, but they all just went, oh yeah, well, I could do a bit of that, or I could probably add a line to that. Should we just go away for half an hour and have a bit of a play about with them? But the real thing was about how they were prepared to play in a proper ensemble rather than just be solo singer-songwriters, you know?
Cheshire Cat Moon is again like the result of Laura coming up with a really simple but really, really catchy guitar part. And it's up there, you know, it's like ba-ba-ba-bam. You know, it's like, it's amazing, just dead simple, and you can kind of, everything else can be weaved around it.
Yeah, I made me first 2 riffs and then they were like, all right, make another one. And I was like, okay. So I worked on this one for ages and it was truly disgusting to the ears. You wouldn't want to hear it. So I threw it away, and then a couple of minutes later I just banged out Cheshire Cat Moon, like the very basic riff to it. But then Jen had written these lyrics for Cheshire Cat Moon, and then just all these chords got added, and then it's got a really weird structure, which is hard to play, but I think it sounds really, really good.
I think it was really interesting because, you know, 2 different perspectives. It's like a contrast, but like we make the contrast work to make a song out of it.
And Jen started to come up with these complete sets of lyrics.
Yeah, again, like sort of quite complete sets.
But it weaves in and out, the story weaves in and out, and the shape of the stanzas weaves in and out. So somehow figuring out a way that the beginnings of Laura's piece of music could fit all of those things has been one of the best like collaborative pieces of the project.
Yeah.
Follow my vision to the clouds. Up above, I might fall too loud.
Eve is an enigma, and you never know when she's actually paying attention, and then suddenly she'll turn around with some like brilliantly full-formed thought.
We'd been working over 2 sessions. 1 week we'd just done urban observation. The next week we were starting to think about characterisation, and then whilst we were workshopping some facial description, Eve just started to drop little lines into the chat room.
I think a lot of the time when I write things, I can't go away and sit and stare at a piece of paper and write. That's just not how it works a lot of the time for me. So then I was just in the session, and I think it was something that somebody said when they were doing random sentences. I think somebody said like Marlboro Reds, and I was like, and then I just went off on one and I started writing. So then when I put it in the chat, and they were like really supportive, and as soon as they read it, they were like, oh, this is really nice, this is really good. And they put it straight away in the drive, and they're like, we will use that, we'll come back to that. Felt like really reassuring.
If I could take just a second of your time, I've got an issue. The issue of feeling so at home but so alone at once. It's a weird feeling, isn't it? You feel like you need to leave a place, but you're so tied down that you can't escape. That's what she told me last week. Through slow words, her heart speaks. She said, we could get up and go right now, take over the town and make them all look like clowns. We'll steal Marlboro red birds from the road, go where we wanna go, nobody has to know. And the idea of that excited me. Something not legal but not quite right, you see. The adrenaline rush from hanging out of car windows, screaming at the top of your lungs, scaring groves and meadows. I want a life like that with a girl like her, where nothing is the same for too long. We'll run until cardiac, there's no I'm going back to the ropes that keep me home. We could take whatever we want, because what's the point of playing by the rules? She said, life's too short to be a wuss. You could be one of us once you break through the dust. And a life like that enticed me, intoxicating, mind-bending, undoubtedly free. I want a life like that, but not necessarily with her. Though she seemed to teach me everything I know. Now that I've seen the other side, I don't think I can hide anymore from the ropes that keep me home. Thank you.
So, Waiting for the Night Sky, that was written mainly by Thomas. And he'd said he'd never really written any songs before. But I think he took a lot from the early sessions where Paul would say, right, get an image, get a photograph, and talk about it in, sort of sometimes metaphorical sort of ways. And I think he really took that on board.
I think with Paul, it's like a lot of the things are like how to get inspiration for lyrics.
I think we'd started to talk about the idea of boredom again, and this idea of just being enclosed, and like trying to vent a little bit of that frustration, but also like half of you was escaping. So it was the macro and the micro thing.
When you're in the lockdown, it was just like the same mundane stuff all the time. It was just like, I can't be bothered for this. I just like sort of put it into some words, I guess.
And you'd already been persuaded to sing one song, because when Thomas first arrived, he said, no, I play guitar, I don't really want to sing. But he was very quickly bullied into singing a song, and then we thought, well, actually it might also be nice to do a spoken, like more spoken song as well.
Sky, buzz of traffic is passing me by, all waiting for the night sky, all waiting for the night sky. Early work rush, gotta catch the school bus, leave yesterday in the dust, leave yesterday in the dust. by the bay, planning your way. Just moving on with your day, just moving on with your day. The clouds are overhead, just wanna stay in bed and watch some TV instead. Watch some TV instead. Now you've ruined your new top, bought straight from the shop. Just wishing that time would stop. Just wishing that time would stop. Wishing that time would stop.
I think it was definitely a lot different to how I've normally done it, because before when I'd write in standard like verse, chorus, verse, and it would all rhyme and it would all make sense together. But with this it was like this line pulled from here, this line pulled from there, put them together, this is a verse now. And I'd never done that before and it was really interesting. And I think a big part of that came from Paul and then also Dave and Peter when they were just putting random little lines in the chat, and then he would take them and he would write them down, and then we all thought, oh, they're never going to get used, and then they all get put into one song, and it was really cool.
Well, Light in the Gallery started off as an exercise when we were quite literally doing a poetic documentary, which started in the car park outside the inn shops, and then went and had a roam around the galleries, and we were just being like CCTV cameras. Very blunt, poetic image collection in the first instance, and then started to play with it a little bit. And then as the weeks went on, we'd also started to talk about this idea of transporting, not just ourselves, but also other people who we were looking at, and creating little mini fictions about them.
Everybody came up with loads and loads of ideas, and all the time that's happening, we're like jotting down notes. Every little clever thing that anyone says by accident or design, just all gets written down. And Paul wrote them up into probably like a 10-page poem. And then late in the process, it just felt like the ideas in this one need to be a song. Although it didn't happen until, like 2 weeks ago, when finally Jen and Paul sat together and edited through these vast reams of text.
Yeah.
I still can't believe we've managed to finish that one.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Red-faced, carry your bag to fish. I'm thinking how your
Union Jack Bunting in the Muffin Zone. Eating pale cheese in the Red Balloon. Speaking in French and playing chess. I'm bored with news and nostalgia. Envious of other people's laughter. Happy shoppers swirling slow-mo. Crazed choreography of the awkward. And the air smells of Nivea and disappointment. This entire storyline is free of complication.
Cloudways over Albany, Mickey Mouse gateways and lighted stars, dancing home from abandoned walls. Counting steps and counting sheep, counting down the days to Monday. Vague trails and guarded glances, faded soundtracks spilled on the road. These slow clocks obliterate time. Broken hearts at the ATM, bad heads and mannequin smiles. We're juggling ambition and star signs.
Light floods into the galleries. Skinny boys collecting up trolleys, grinning and walking in circles, with skin highs, a million possibilities. Hates his job, hates his dad. He wishes he lived on a Disney cruise ship. Or fast food and precarious shoes. Just platitudes and anonymity.
Broken hearts at the ATM, bad heads and mannequin
entire storyline is free of complication. Eve, Jen, Oscar, Laura, and Thomas. Well done. Superb.
Think a lot more about the lyrics than I did before. And also I listened really hard to what the guitar's doing.
I suppose it's given us more confidence on stage and just a better idea of how to work with other people to create something better.
Just learning how to put ideas together into a song.
I think I've learned that there's more talent in these areas than I realised.
And having these people around me who are such amazing writers, I think has really inspired me. So I'm probably going to go home and write something now.